Welcome to Women's HERstories series on my YouTube channel, Mama Mata History for Today. Episode 1 is dedicated to Ida B. Wells. Let's jump to it. Our 5 facts in 5 minutes for Ida B. Wells are going to blow your mind. She is an incredible person that we don't always learn about in history class or in textbooks, and we really need to honor her story. So here we go. Let's jump right to it. Number 1, she was born into slavery during the Civil War. In fact, she was born in 1862. The Civil War occurred from 1861 to 1865. She was a Southern Black woman without political power for most of her life, but that never stopped her. Number 2, she fought against racial and gender discrimination. She absolutely dedicated her life to the movement of equality for Black Americans and women, and we have so much to thank for her. Number 3, she filed a lawsuit against the Southern Railroad Company and its train conductor, who forcibly and physically removed her from the train, even though she had a paid first-class ticket. In fact, she was a teacher in a rural area, and she had to take the train to go to work to teach her students in a rural school. And the train conductor did not believe that she belonged in the seat that she was sitting in. She refused to move. That's when they forcibly removed her. She was left on the side of the tracks with tattered and torn clothing, and she was clutching her train ticket close to her heart. She did file this lawsuit against this company, but unfortunately lost. And that's when she pledged to continue the fight for Black Americans to receive legal equality in the court system. Number 4, she became a journalist and published articles bringing awareness to racism, sexism, lynching, and civil rights. In fact, she never went to college, and she was a very outspoken person. Her personality was bold and fearless, and that was not what everybody at the time was maybe leaning towards in organizations. They felt that maybe she was a little too rough, a little too aggressive. But she lived her life undauntedly. In fact, because she became a writer and a journalist, she was able to use her voice to bring attention to issues as racism, sexism, lynching, and civil rights. In fact, she founded an anti-lynching organization. So she used her voice in every capacity she could. Number 5, she was a founding member of NAACP and the founder of the Alpha Suffrage Club. In fact, she almost did not make it to the listing as a founding member for NAACP because so many people felt that she was too vocal, too aggressive, and she really was a little bit maybe not seen positively all the time for her time period in which everyone was trying to work towards equality, but maybe following some rules that white Americans preferred. And but she was a founding member, and she also created the Alpha Suffrage Club, which was basically a women's rights organization focused on the right to vote. So let's look at some pictures and talk a little further about Ida B. Wells. This is a photograph from the Chicago Daily Tribune, which is a newspaper, and it tells a story that I think is so powerful and really needs to be shared about Ida B. Wells. In March of 1913, more than 5,000 women marched in Washington to fight for the right to vote. Wells and other African American women were told they would be segregated from the main group. But Wells refused and waited until the procession started before joining the block of women from Illinois. In other words, most of the time in this time period of the 1900s, when women were fighting for the right to vote in the suffrage movement, there was some issues between the Black women's right to vote campaign and the white women's right to vote campaign. Even though they both had the goal of suffrage and to get the right to vote for women, Ida B. Wells was seen and her group as a bit of a threat and also even a little bit as second class. In fact, the leader of the organizing group that led this parade, procession, protest, actually told her, yeah, to wait at the end of the procession and then your group can join. So in classic Ida B. Wells bravery, persistence, and leadership, she absolutely did not wait and brought her group forth to join in the very beginning of this procession. So what an incredible story. We also have an image here of her later on in life. She is really thought to be one of the most innovators in political power in Chicago specifically. She really used her voice to get more political power for her community. She encouraged Black Americans to run for political office. She encouraged them to take leadership positions in schools, and really felt that her role was to put herself before others in her community so that she could show that leadership had to be loud and had to be proud and had to be spoken so that others could hear. So we're so proud to honor Ida B. Wells in our episode 1 of Women's HERstories series. I hope you enjoyed this episode 1 of Women's HERstories series dedicated to Ida B. Wells. If you want to continue learning more about women's history, stay tuned. Episode 2 is going to feature someone, so amazing. And I can't wait to tell you who it's going to be. It's someone that I've admired since I was about 14 years old. So a really long time. And I think the whole world should know about her too. So be sure to tune in for episode 2 of Women's HERstory series. And also, if you feel like you want to keep learning more in depth about women's history, be sure to check out my link on my YouTube channel that links you to my OutSchool classes. I do teach a women's history course. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, share, and comment.